Okay, so today this is our agenda. I would first of all introduce IFC, and then we will look into the market for green building. We'll look at how we are able to estimate the investment opportunity, and then look at the business case for investors and developers. We would also look into green building definitions and then illustrate this definition using EDGE. We would also do a software demo and then go through the certification process for EDGE. Now, IFC has been collecting a lot of lessons learned on how to create a green real estate investment program for financial institutions. We would go through some of these case studies from some investors and developers around the world. And then at the end, if there's time, we would have a Q&A. If not, you can always post your questions in the tab, and then we would definitely get back to you. Okay, so IFC is a member of the World Bank Group, and IFC focuses on providing solutions for the private sector. And part of our mission is to create markets that will support climate business. Most of the time, people think the World Bank Group is just one institution, but we do have all of these organizations within the World Bank Group, and IFC is just one of these organizations, right? So this is also another way to understand IFC's offer. It ranges from broad market creation efforts, and then we also work through specific types of advice, and we also provide investments. And we do have differentiated offers for developers, for investors, and then sometimes we also provide some sort of advice for governments. And basically, we would go through what we are looking at when it comes to green building. When IFC created a green building program, it was mainly to provide a very systematic approach to sustainable buildings. We've heard a lot about green buildings over the past 2 days, and I'm sure it's helping you understand how important this industry is. Our program at IFC involves a 4-part strategy, and it includes us working with financial institutions, or we directly investing into the building sector. It also involves us advising governments on how they can create green building codes and then provide incentives. And then the last part of it is the EDGE certification program. So you can see on my screen some of our results so far. As we speak, we do have about 500 developers who have certified at least one project around the world. In Ghana, we currently have about 12 projects that have been fully certified. We do have a pipeline of about 15 projects that are also in the process of getting their project certified. We have worked with more than 20 financial institutions worldwide. To date, we have provided at least $1.4 billion of investment to financial institutions. Right. Yesterday, I joined the Green Finance session, and it was great to hear about CalBank talking about how they've worked with us and then worked with the SunRef program to get some of this financing. We have also worked with about 10 different countries to come up with either a green building code or some sort of incentive to help encourage developers to go green. In Ghana, we worked with the government of Ghana about 2 years ago to come up with a new building code. And in that new building code, there is some green requirements in there for real estate developers. Now, so this is what we've been doing across Africa. So I'm trying to bring it home now. Most of the time, we talk about green and people think it's only happening in the world, in the developed world. But on our continent, there's a lot happening. This is as at June, this data is correct as at June 2021, just a few months old. And you can see across West Africa, we do have more than 20 projects. There are more than 20 projects that have been certified green. East Africa, it's mainly Kenya that there are lots of projects. Central Africa, we do have Cameroon. And then Southern Africa is where there is a greater number of projects. I mean, mainly because the EDGE program started in South Africa. So it's been running in South Africa for a while. So there are a lot of projects in there. Apart from these numbers that you're seeing over here, there are other small countries, across Africa that have maybe 1 or 2 projects that hasn't been captured in here. Now, let me give you an example of IFC's work in catalyzing the green building market. I'll use the example of South Africa. I mean, the case study of South Africa. Now, some years back, IFC invested about $21 million in a fund called IHS, International Housing Solution. They are a very large equity investor in South Africa's affordable housing market. And they were the very first developers to use the EDGE program to vet their projects. Now, at the time they were using EDGE, the incremental cost was around 2 to 6%, right? Whenever we talk of green buildings, the issue of incremental cost comes in because the idea is green buildings is very expensive, right? But people say this just speculatively. Some people have no idea exactly how much more it is to build green. They just assume it's more expensive. Now, we would go into the software later to see how we are able to use the software to determine the exact incremental cost for green buildings. But then for IHS, when they started, yes, it was at 2 to 6%. Now, over time, after they got to use the software and they started designing their projects to be green right from the beginning, they were able to bring their incremental cost to less than 1%. Now, at the same time, we worked with some other institutions in South Africa, one being the Green Building Council of South Africa. We provided trainings to them. We did some education to the banks. We provided capacity building to government officials. And what happened was this action from IHS, it encouraged other developers to also take action, to also follow that same trend. To the extent that about 2 years ago, we had Boarding Properties. They are one of the biggest developers in South Africa. They decided to register about 16,000 housing units for their projects. Now, at the end there, the financial market also kicked in, to the extent that we had ABSA introducing an eco home loan for prospective, for people that wanted to buy homes from Baldwin. Now, this loan was lower. It had lower interest rate than what ABSA was ordinarily giving on the market for mortgages. So what it did was it attracted a lot more people to purchase from Baldwin. Now, this is just a simple example to show you exactly how our work is affecting markets. We are looking at creating opportunities so that all the various stakeholders within the built environment can work together. Okay, so now let's look at some of the financial products that can be launched for green buildings. If there is time, we would cover them in a lot more details. Now, basically, we have green construction, we have green mortgage, and then we have the capital market. Now, with green buildings, when your project is certified, it's possible for you to get funding or get some sort of financing from all of these 3 sectors. Now, some banks are creating green construction loans. We were happy to hear from the example from Cal Bank yesterday. The green construction usually allows developers to access funding, sometimes at a lower cost than ordinarily would have been, to be able to do their projects. Whereas the green mortgages allows prospective homeowners to also apply for funding to buy their dream homes. And then on the capital market, projects that are certified can actually raise funding on the capital market to fund their activities. And we do have actual examples. So you can see the logos down there. These are not theoretical. These are actual organization institutions that have worked with the EDGE program to access some of these facilities. We will talk a bit more of them later. I mean, we will go into them a bit more later in subsequent slides. So when we created EDGE, as I did mention in the beginning, we wanted to, provide an answer or a common definition of green building that will connect investors, developers, buyers, and regulators. I've been speaking for about 10 minutes, and I'm sure some of you may be wondering, okay, so what exactly qualifies as green? But if you've been in this, if you follow some of the sessions since yesterday, I'm sure you definitely understand what a green building is. However, at IFC, we see a green building to be a building that meets all of these three categories. And the very first one is that it needs to have been certified and then and audited by a third party. So certification is really important. I can't just say my building is green when no third party has come to audit it or has really verified that, yes, because of A, B, and C in my project, it's green, right? Now, the second category, the second step is that your building should be able to perform better compared to the local baseline. So when it comes to energy usage, when it comes to water use, when it comes to material usage, you should be able to prove that, yes, my building is better when compared to similar buildings in my neighborhood, right? And how do we calculate that? We can use the EDGE app to do that. The last bit is quantified impact reporting. I should be able to calculate exactly how much I'm saving, exactly what the impact of my project is on the environment. I should be able to know how much GHG my project is emitting. All of that should be calculated. Once all of this is available, it becomes very easy for your project to access financing from the bank, because especially on the quantified impact reporting, a lot of these banks would need to report on their impacts whenever they provide a green loan, especially for institutions that raise funding on the capital markets. If it's going to be a green bond, the proceeds definitely needs to be used for green projects. And at the end of a day, you need to report. So it's very, very helpful once the project is able to meet all of these. Now, another thing that IFC has done is to align EDGE with all the international green finance criteria so that it becomes easy for all of them to recognize it. And then once a project is certified, it's simplified when they have to raise some sort of financing or funding from them. So what exactly is EDGE? EDGE stands for Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiency. And it consists of mainly three components. The first one is the free software. The software helps you to choose the most cost-effective measure to build green. The software is free and it can be accessed from the EDGE website. We would have a look at it if time permits. Now, the second component is that EDGE is an achievable green building standard, and it has a 20% resource efficiency criteria. The last bit is the certification system, which is able to verify and then reward green building projects by providing you with a green label. Right. One way where EDGE is different from other certification systems is that we focus mainly on three categories of resource efficiency. And the aim is to achieve a minimum threshold. You would realize that when we defined what a green building was, we did not say a green building is a building that has achieved an EDGE certification, right? There are a whole lot of certification systems that are available. Once a building achieves any of these certification systems, we see it as a green building. However, all of them have their own advantages and then disadvantages. So, and then they all look at different things when it comes to resource efficiency. But then EDGE only focuses on these three, right? So to reach the EDGE standards, one, the project must meet at least 20% savings in energy use. It must reach 20% savings in water use, and then 20% on the embodied energy in the construction materials compared to a local baseline. And how do we calculate this? That's where the software comes in. The software, as I mentioned earlier on, it's free. Anybody can have access to it. It's as simple as registering for a Gmail account or a Yahoo account. Once you key in your details, you can have access to it. And the interesting thing is it's able to let you know what measures can help your project to reach the green building standard. Because sometimes a developer is interested in building green and all he knows is that a green building should have solar panels. So without that, it's not green. You go through the software and you realize that there are very basic things such as, very passive design options that one can choose. When it comes to water, very sensible measures are available, like low flow tabs, having dual flash WC. All of these are in the rainwater harvesting. All of these are there, and it guides you on the measures that you can choose for your project. It doesn't just stop there. You are also able to see exactly how much is going to affect your bottom line. What is the incremental cost for the particular measure that I'm choosing? Can my project afford it? If my project can afford it, how long will it take for me to recoup that investment? What is the payback period? All of these are seamlessly calculated for you at a click of a button. Previously, for you to do such an analysis, you need to hire a consultant to do some energy modeling for you, and then and it takes a very long time. You will not get it in a day. But this software simplifies everything. It makes it very easy for you at a glance to be able to see exactly how going green is going to impact on your project. So in the end, you would decide to go green mainly because you have done your analysis, you've done your financial calculations, and you are sure that going green is not going to make you bankrupt or is not going to negatively affect your project. Going green, you can actually tell your client exactly how much you'll be saving them in utility bills, energy and water if they buy from you. And that is it's actually what IFC was hoping to achieve when EDGE was created. Now, EDGE can be used for all sorts of projects. It was very interesting. A few weeks ago, we certified a sports stadium in Argentina, right? In Madagascar, their airport was also certified. Even in Ghana, the Temaport expansion project, it also got certified. So it tells you the spectrum of projects that can be certified. In South Africa, we certify a social housing project. Now, sometimes we feel that green building is only for very expensive projects. It's for luxury projects and all that. But no, we were able to certify a social housing project. In Ghana, the Renewable properties projects in Ayimesa got certified a few months ago. It's an affordable housing project. So any type of project at all can be built green. It all depends on the measures that you want to choose to go green. Obviously, some measures are more expensive than others. If I'm doing a luxury project, the sort of measures that I would choose to go green is not the same as the measures I would choose if I'm doing an affordable or social housing project, right? So that is what EDGE allows you to be able to do. You're able to do all of these analysis easily. Now, this example of some of the projects that are certified. We provide case studies of certified projects on our website, and it's mainly to allow people to see how other developers have certified their projects, what exactly did they do, what was the magic, what measures did they put in place, so that they can say that, okay, if this developer used this particular measure and all that, and it gave him this result, then I can also do same. Additionally, it provides some sort of marketing for the developer and some PR for them to know that, okay, they have done this, they've achieved this. So yeah, and this is on our website. We actually introduce it to a lot of our partners and then all that. Yeah. All EDGE certified projects protect the natural resource, and then it also saves on operational expenses. We do have EDGE Advanced, and then we have zero carbon, in addition to the basic EDGE certified. So as I mentioned in the beginning, once your project reaches the 20% mark, you qualify for EDGE. Now, for projects that go over and beyond the 20%, and then reach EDGE, and then reach about 40% and above, they're able to get EDGE Advanced, right? And then we do have zero carbon. Now that's the buzzword. I think there's a session after me that's going to be talking about zero carbon. And you would realize that what the world is looking at achieving is that by 2030, all new buildings would need to be zero carbon. And then by 2050, both new and old, all buildings should be zero carbon. Now, the other question to ask is, would a country like Ghana be able to meet this target? But that doesn't mean that we can't take a step. Even if we can't meet this target, it doesn't mean we can't take a step. So EDGE is more or less helping developers to start this process. And once a project is green, we would also work with that developer to market it for them. Right. So once your project meets the standard, you can certify it. Certification is not free. It comes at a cost anyway. I mean, if you want to go ahead to certify it, it comes at a cost. Although you can use the software to analyze your project to see where it stands. But once you want to certify it, it comes at a cost. And the certificate lists the percentage savings and the measures that were utilized to achieve the green savings. Right. What EDGE does is it helps to communicate the benefits of green building certification amongst the investors, developers, and then even the end users. So that if I'm buying a property, when I see the certificate, I can see exactly what has gone into my project. I can see the sort of thinking that the developer went through, how conscious they were about saving energy and then water usage and all that. You're able to see all of that. Now, in this way, financial institutions that want to provide green funding, once a certificate is available, they do not have to go further to do their own analysis or due diligence to come and then check the projects to find out whether it's green, whether they have enough energy saving measures and all that. The certificate is enough proof. So it simplifies the work of the financial institution that is looking at providing some sort of green financing. When it comes to residential projects, so let's say for Rehoboth's project at IE Mensa, it was a total of 1,400 units. Now, each of the 1,400 units is going to get its own certificate. So if I am a buyer in Rehoboth, if I buy my unit, my 2-bedroom apartment at Rehoboth, I'm going to get my own certificate for that unit that I'm buying. And if there is a green mortgage available, I can present that certificate to the bank or the financial institutions when I'm buying. If I want to resell later on, I can also present that certificate to the new person that wants to buy from me to indicate that this is the sort of project that he is buying. The other advantage for certification is that, it helps reduce reputational risk, because, it's the only way you can actually communicate value between all the stakeholders in the construction value chain, right? And there are lots of stakeholders in there, and the certificate alone is the common one that you can say, okay, so once it's certified, then it's actually meeting all of these standards. Now, this is where we do a demo. Usually it will be a 5-minute demo, but I want to skip this. We will come back to it at the end. So I also want to make a note here that when it comes to the green bond process, EDGE helps simplify the process. We have helped about 2 of our clients, one in Kenya, Yecham developers who used their EDGE certified projects to raise funding on the capital markets. They were able to issue the first green bond in Kenya, and it was oversubscribed. Right. Recently, there was HC Capital. I think HC Capital is speaking today. They would be talking about their experience. So it would be great if you can listen to them. Now, they also use their project in Côte d'Ivoire to help issue a green bond, and then use the proceeds for the green bond to pay off the existing loans on that particular project. It's very interesting. There are other developers that are also looking at that. In Ghana currently, IFC is working with the Securities and Exchange Commissions on issuing the guidelines. And once this process is completed, it will be possible for Ghanaian institutions to also raise funding through the green bond. So across the world, these are examples of some of the financial institutions or banks that are taking action. Some of them are coming up with some sort of incentive that will help developers to go green. I haven't even added Cow Bank here. Our own Cow Bank in Ghana. FNB Bank in South Africa also recently, just about a few weeks ago, they have also recently introduced a green mortgage in South Africa. And we are hoping that this would, it would trigger their subsidiary in Ghana to also start something similar, right? So it is really, really coming up. It's become very, very interesting. Now, this is one of the case studies. What we've seen is that financial institutions are partnering with particular developers, or sometimes they allow it to be a general incentive for any developer at all, right? So there are 2 case studies here. The first one is from Colombia. Colombia is where we first launched a green bond. We first introduced a green building product, right? And it was done by Bank Colombia. They offered the incentive to all developers, all their clients who were doing real estate development, right? And then they also provided the mortgage for anybody that wanted any project that was certified green. Now with Absa in South Africa, they decided to work with just one developer. Now their rationale was to test the markets. And the result was that within 1 month, Baldwin Properties, who had partnered with Absa for the green loan, was able to sell 800 homes in 1 month when the new incentive from Absa was introduced. So it does tells you that it's really creates a very big impact. Now, I did mention at the beginning that we also work with governments. What we've seen is that in our part of the world, governments play a very key role in development and in whatever happens. So having the government come in to provide some sort of incentive is really, really helpful. The incentive could be either fiscal or non-fiscal. There are some of the incentives that really wouldn't cost the government money. Stuff like, so if you look at Ghana, Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly a year ago introduced lower permit fees for projects that are certified green, right? They decided that they would do was about 30% discount on the permit fees for all green projects. It's a way to incentivize developers that are working, that are building in the Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly area to decide to go green. In Kenya, what they have done is the proceeds from green bonds are tax exempt. So if any institution raises any funding from the green bond, I mean, they are tax exempt. And also, Kenya also has another policy saying that all affordable housing should be green certified, right? And once it's green certified, they also are able to access free land, right? Government is able to provide you with free land as far as you are going ahead to get your affordable housing to be green. Across the world, there are a whole lot of other incentives that certain governments are doing. Now, I mean, for some places, so India, for instance, if your project is green, you get an extra floor. So let's say I'm building an area where the zoning requirement tells me we need to do just 3 floors. Now, because your project is going to be green, the local assembly is able to allow you to add an extra floor. Now, this extra floor means extra money for the developer because it means extra units for him to sell, right? There are some other places like Argentina and Colombia where there's exclusion of VAT if they are going to go green. So there are a whole lot of options that government can come into to on the low side incentivize developers to want to go green. Now we are hoping that we would have, in Ghana, we would have a lot of other cities like, Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, all coming together to look at ways that we can incentivize developers to want to also go green. Now, so I did mention this. This was the case study I mentioned for Kenya, where all affordable housing is decreed to, be certified green and then to get access to free land. Okay, now another area that I want to point out is we do have people we call EDGE experts. Now, EDGE experts are professionals in the built environment industry that have been trained on EDGE. They understand how EDGE works. They are able to work with developers to get their project certified. They're able to provide advice to these developers and then to ensure that certification is done in a very quick where the certification process for EDGE took about 1 year, whereas we've done projects where the certification process took just about 1 month. Now, all of this is merely as a result of the EDGE expert involved. If you have if you have an EDGE expert involved in your project, it helps you to certify your project as quickly as possible. And we do provide training all the time. You can get access to the schedule for our training if you go to our website. Okay, so this is the certification workflow. Let's look at exactly how a project can be certified. It's a very simple thing. I did mention our websites in the beginning. All of this can be done online. Any project that needs to be certified, it's done online, very seamless. You don't have to be posting documentation and all that or going to somebody's office to make any inquiry. Everything can be done online. You need to do your self-assessment on the EDGE app. We'll be going to the EDGE app very soon to have a look. Once your project, you do the self-assessment, you can send it for registration and then go ahead to do your design. Now, at the design stage, once the documentation is provided, you then get your preliminary certification. So it means that you're able to get your certificate, your EDGE certificate even before you start construction. Now, why this is very important is, especially in Ghana where projects want to sell off plan, you are able to use a certificate to market your project as green. You're able to use it to raise awareness on your project and then able to get people to buy in. Also, you're able to use the certificate to raise funding from financial institutions that are providing green financing. So after that, you can go ahead to build. And then once construction is done, the auditor would come on site to come and verify that actually the project is going green. Now, for those that want to, obtain the zero carbon certificate, the zero carbon certificate is an operational certificate. So it means that your building should be operating at least for 1 year at 75% occupancy minimum before we can assess it and then provide the certificates on zero carbon. Now, this indicative fee for Ghana, we actually use entirely SGS. And for a project, let's say I'm certifying the Cow Bank building. That whole building, if you're going to do the certification, it's actually a maximum of around $10,000 to get it done. Now, these are some of the advantages. Once a project gets certified, the IFC EDGE team works directly with you on your project to help raise all the necessary awareness that you would need. Okay, so I would want us to go to the EDGE app just to have a look at what is available. I mean, how you can use it. I hope my screen is still sharing. Okay, so once you go to www.edgebuildings.com, this is the landing page. On this website, there's a whole lot of stuff that you can learn when it comes to green buildings. We do put a lot of our stories and our research that we do. We put them here. We also put projects that have been certified. Well, not all projects anyway, but projects that allow us to put them up here. We do put them here. And okay, it's opening. So you can see the sort of project that have been certified. You can choose a particular country that you want to look at. In this case, let's look at Ghana. You can see the projects that have been certified. And then if you click on them, so let me click on Cow Bank. Cow Bank was certified about 2 years ago. If you click on Cow Bank, it will tell you exactly what Cow Bank did to get their project certified. Energy savings, they are 36%, water savings, they are 56%, embodied energy and materials are 32%. And if you scroll down, you can see what they did for energy saving. They had solar PV, they have energy saving lighting in both the internal and external spaces. They have lighting controls for the corridors and in the staircase areas. They had occupancy sensors in the bathrooms. Tell me, these are very simple things that a lot of projects can do, especially for offices. These are not very, very sophisticated measures that would, that one can say because of this is too expensive, we can't do it. Look at water. What they did was dual flash water closets. They had water efficient urinals. They had low flow faucets. And then they did also provide a rainwater harvesting system, right? So the whole essence for EDGE is to allow people to see all the various measures that you can take to go green, right? And it shouldn't only be about the most expensive one. Okay, so now let's go to the app. If you click on, the top right button, top here, you see the EDGE app there. It will open another screen over here for you. And this is how the interface looks like. I'm able to choose if I'm doing home. So let's assume we are going to model or simulate a home. Now, in the beginning, I did mention that for EDGE, we are comparing your project to another project in your locality. So the baseline is very, very important. And we've already populated about 170 countries within the EDGE app. So I can confidently look for Ghana. Okay, Ghana is over here. And then assuming if my project is going to be in Accra, I can choose Accra here, and then look at what type of category. If it's going to be low income or high end, I can just choose that. Now, the software asks you all of these questions. So over here, it's asking me about the building data. Am I going to do apartments or I'm going to do houses? How many of them am I building? What is the average unit area? You can put all of this information in there, and then it will help the software to build a base case. Now it's asking me whether I'm going to include air conditioning. It's asking whether I'm going to include space heating. So I can put all my answers in there. Now, if I go...
Sorry, Dennis. Sorry to interrupt. I think your screen is frozen now. So all the simulations you're trying to show, we cannot see. If you can please just go off and come back again.
Okay, so let me stop sharing.
Talking, yes, from CalBank and what they had done green.
Okay, that's fine. So let me go back now and then share. Let me know if it's come back. Is it back now?
Yes, it's great. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so and then this particular session here is so important because it provides the key assumptions, and this is where we can make changes. So over here, you realize that we have assumptions on how much it costs. I mean, how much the cost of electricity is in a particular country. So I can make the changes here directly if I think that prices have gone up or down. I mean, you can always make a change. Same for water costs and all that. Now, let's assume I won't make any changes here. Then, once I've put in all this information, the software can tell me exactly how much water the project that I've simulated is going to use. It can tell me how much energy the project is going to use. It can tell me, it can give me an average of what the base case utility costs, as in water and energy, would cost me, assuming I'm not using any energy or water efficiency measure in the project. And then once I select a particular energy or water efficiency, I'm able to see what the impact would be on my utility costs. So is it going to reduce my cost of the utilities I pay, or is it going to increase it? And now over here too, I can also see my incremental costs, right? How much extra I'm going to pay because of, as a result of the measures that I've included. And then I also see my payback in years. So let's go to the energy tab. And then you can see that there are a whole lot of options here that one can choose to make your project green. Now, EDGE is not saying that you should choose all of these for your project. So you have reduced window to wall ratio. If that is a measure that you want to choose, you can put it in there. Now, let's see how that affects my project. If I choose reduced window to wall ratio for the project that we simulated, immediately my energy saving has gone to 14%. Now, it's assuming 20% reduced window to wall ratio. Now, what about if I have a project that I have bigger windows? So it's more of 40% for my window to wall ratio. Once I do that, automatically I see the difference. It's gone that low. Now, the other options, can I choose external shading devices? I can choose that and then see what the impact will be on my project. Can I decide to do ceiling fans in all habitable rooms, right? These are all green measures that sometimes we don't even think about. What about if I decide to do energy saving lighting, right? That is also there. I want to put energy saving lighting in the common areas. Now, I can also decide to do the heavy stuff, more like having my solar PV, or deciding to have a smart meter, or finding some other sort of renewable energy side in there, carbon offset. All of these are available. EDGE is not saying you should choose all of them at the same time. Look at your project, see what works for you, and then you can make the changes as and when you want it. Now, so for this particular project that we've done, so for the measures that we chose, you would realize that, let me see. Yeah, you would realize that it's telling me, it's telling us that we have a utility cost reduction of about $4 per unit per month. Now, we can go to water. Water also follow the same principle. It gives you some measures that one can choose. I can choose low flow shower heads for my building. I can even go ahead to reduce the amount of litter that is used per minute. I can even reduce that to 5. I can decide to do low flow faucet for the kitchen sinks. I can decide to do low flow faucets in all the bathrooms. I can even decide to do rainwater harvesting. I mean, the target is to reach 20%. I can decide, okay, I want to recycle my gray water for flashing as well. Right, so all of these are available. When it comes to materials, it also follows a similar one. I mean, you have to select the sort of material you want to use for the various areas. Now, you can use this session to see how efficient a particular material is. So let's say we are now at 0% of materials. If I decide to use the normal one that we use a lot in Ghana, in-situ reinforced concrete slab, it's making no change in there. It's still 0%. Now, let's say I want to do concrete filler slab with polystyrene blocks. Immediately, I choose that. I see that there is a 4% savings on materials. Now, I can also go ahead and say, okay, let me see if I want to use hollow core precast slab, right? That's also 2%. So you're able to then rank each of these materials that you can use for your project to see which one is more efficient for you. Same for the roof construction. You can choose the type of roof that you want to do and then put that in there. So for all the various parts of the building, the components of the building, there are options there that you can choose to get your project to meet it. Now, once the project meets, you can always click on apply for certification, and then it goes to our auditors. They would get back to you, they go through the process, and the project can get certified. Right. So let me go back to our presentation. And then we can conclude, and if there are any questions, we can take a look at them. Okay, so once a project gets certified, we can help the project team to do a whole lot of activities, markets and NPR activities. We help you to issue a press release. If you are willing to do a project study, we can put it on our website. We can actually, decide to do a social media campaign for your project. Your projects can publish a story. Just last week, we launched a story on the Ghana Infectious Disease Center. And we put the highlight on the lead architect, Mr. Kofi Esel, who was the one that was the lead architect for that project. And we're able to do a lot more. It depends on the particular client. What we do is we have a meeting with you, we discuss what your needs are. How do you want your project to be marketed or to be shown to the outside world? And then we at the World Bank Group can use our influence and our networks to ensure that that visibility is given to your project. There are situations where you can also get some sort of financing from the IFC team, depending on the kind of project you're doing and all that. So there are a whole lot of benefits in there. So we publish a lot of journals every year. We're able to use your projects as some of the case studies. And then we do videos as well. These are some of the videos we've done. If you go to our YouTube channels, you'd see a lot of them where we feature some of these projects in there. We allow the developers to come on to speak about their projects, why they built it green, and then all that. You're also able to enter you for awards, international awards, and then basically that's how I'll bring my presentation to an end. Basically, I want to mention that we get funding for the EDGE program from the UK government and then from SECO, the Swiss agency. When the program started, it was SECO that was providing almost all the funding for the projects. But currently, we also do have some funding from the UK government, and we are very grateful to both institutions. All right. So I think I'll leave it here. I'll stop sharing, and then let's see if there are any questions that need addressing.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. So we're going to look at the questions in two folds, that which comes to the chat box. And then for those in the room as well, if there are questions you have, you can please raise your hand. I'll come over to you. So Dennis, first just look through the chat and see what you have.
Okay, so there are some questions here, but I'm not sure they are for me. It may be for the previous session.
Right, there was one that came up in the chat that I had noted, asking.
Yes.
Yeah, asking if the app could be used, for retrofits and new other buildings.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just saying that as well. Yes, the app can be used for both new and existing buildings. Now, what we've said is that for existing buildings, if you do the simulations and you realize that the building is not meeting the standard, you have to do some sort of retrofitting. Just before I came online, I was looking at a project in Abuja, where the project was completed about a year ago, and now they want to certify it. Now, we did the simulations and realized that under energy, it wasn't meeting. It was also not meeting on water. However, on materials, it was meeting. And it's very good because on materials, if it doesn't meet, it's very difficult to make changes. You've already incurred all of that expense and all that. So it's a bit difficult. However, because it wasn't meeting on energy, we had to look at what options were available. And we realized that it was, if they include ceiling fans in all the habitable rooms, they were able to, they would meet the standard on energy. So it meant that there was supposed to be an additional capital outlay to put ceiling fan in all the rooms. This estate has about 300 homes. So the real estate developer was looking at his budget to see, okay, so I'm going to put ceiling fans, and some of them were 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. So you can calculate, you can look at that. On water, what we saw was that the flows were not low flow. The faucets were not low flow faucets, so they had to change them. But instead of changing them, which was going to be expensive, there was the option of putting aerators in there. In the faucet to reduce the flow of the water that's coming. So there are a whole lot of options, but it all depends on the clients. And the interesting thing is with Edge, because you are seeing the incremental cost, you are seeing exactly what the savings is going to be for your utility. It becomes very easy for the client to understand the importance and why he has to go ahead, right? So yes, it's very possible. However, the caveat is for retrofitting, it's more expensive. It's a bit more expensive than if I'm doing a new project. Obviously, if I'm doing a new project, I want to build green, and I start planning right from the beginning to make it green. It becomes easy because I'm not going to incur a cost that in future I may have to change to get an efficient option. Yeah, and then I see a question here. How do we access information on fund opportunities for projects? Yeah, you can always go to the IFC website. We do have a section dedicated for investments. What we do is you are able to apply directly. You're able to apply directly. It asks you a few questions on the type of project you are doing. It tells you the funding requirements, and then you can put an application. And then our investment team can come back to you if it's something that meets what they are looking for. And then it says, can the app be used to estimate the geothermal resources of a country or a region? So no, the app cannot be used to estimate the geothermal resources, unless I'm not understanding what you mean by geothermal resources. But at the moment, it's not able to do that. We're able to calculate the greenhouse gas emissions, you're able to calculate the energy usage, the water usage, and savings and all that, but not geothermal, as I understand your question to be. How do we get help on the EDGE app after this webinar? So let me, if you would allow me, let me go back and then share my screen, right? If we go to the software, so if we go to the website, I did mention something called EDGE Experts, right? So currently in Ghana, I think we've trained about 16 or 17 EDGE Experts. Any of these guys can provide you with support. You can also get in touch with me directly. The organizers would share my contacts. You can always get in touch with me and then ask me whatever questions that you have. So if I go to Ghana, I can see the EDGE Experts over there. Yeah, I can see the EDGE Experts that we have for Ghana over there. And as you can see, Cyril, who is the organizer of this laudable event, is also an EDGE Expert in there. Yeah, so you can always get some more information from these people. But I mean, like I said, I'm also available anytime. Just send me an email and then I would be able to respond to whatever you want. Okay, so somebody is asking, when is the next EDGE Expert training in Ghana? Yeah, so like I said, you can always check on the websites and then see what's available. But then we can also schedule specific EDGE training, especially if it's in a group. We can speak to the certifiers and then get, schedule a date that is convenient for whoever wants to do it.
Right, Dennis. So I have a question in here. There's a question on the floor. So if you can please take that.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is, because there's so many apartment buildings that are going up in Accra proper, and there seems to be a type of prejudice against like natural quarry stones or clay bricks, however you want to call it, something that is different outside of concrete and is naturally sourced. It's vernacular to Ghana. So I'm concerned if, like, is that considered one of the options that someone will have to choose when they're using the EDGE program? And do you personally think that it is a premier product over concrete? Like, how do we change the narrative of swerving society away from a product that's less than 100 years old, such as concrete? Like, I'm personally against concrete. So when I go to these places that people sell, these like natural clay bricks, I'm wondering like, oh my God, why is no one using it? So A, does EDGE support that as a material to add? And then B, what is your opinion on a naturally sourced brick product outside of concrete?
And C, for me, it's for you to introduce yourself. You didn't mention your name and where you're coming from.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Providence, and I'm an interior designer, FFE specialist. I'm based out of Accra.
Thank you very much. Dennis, A and B for you.
Okay, so yes, it's very interesting. So that's one of the advantages that the EDGE app plays. It allows the client to see impact of some of these materials. So in the EDGE app, under the material section, you would have other alternatives apart from concrete for your walling material or flooring or whatever. And most of the time, you'd realize that if you choose some of these materials, especially, if you're looking at something that is mud or anything, you realize that the savings is higher compared to maybe concrete. So we, as I mentioned, EDGE is in a subtle way letting the developer or the clients to see what can be possible, what other options are available that is better than the option that I'm actually thinking about now, right? So you're able to see all of this and then you can make your decision, right? However, what EDGE stops are doing is to kind of put restrictions on a developer, on a developer to say that, no, you can't build with concrete. You should only build with this particular material, only this one, right? But we are giving you the options to see what is available, how each of the materials that you choose for your project is going to affect the overall impact of this particular project on the environment, right? I hope I've answered your questions.
Yes, you have. Thank you. So we are just about ending this session. I'll make room for one question, if any at all. And then we'll take it on. Okay, so I've been used to the nose mask. I just have to take it off because I'm seated here alone, so you can see me properly. Yes, so if there's any further question that would come from the panel, I mean from the audience and from the chat box, we can take it. But if there are no more questions,
yeah, so I see there's a question in the chat box. There's a question in the chat box, but I've already answered that.
Right.
So Kwame is asking about projects getting, being certified by IFC and getting access to financial support. Yes, it's possible to get financial support from IFC. As I mentioned, you can always go to our website and then apply directly. So yes. Right.
Okay, so with that said, Dennis, thank you very much for this masterclass. It's been very interesting. I would say to people out there that please do visit the YouTube channel and also the website, and you have much more information there. And like Dennis said, get in touch. We would be happy to facilitate any types of engagements you'd want. We still have the Ghana Green Building Summit 2021. And we're having another session that would start in the next 20 minutes maximum. So as it is now, we're going to go on a break. Please have some exercise, move around, take coffee or chocolate or cocoa or anything you'd want to take. And we'll come back shortly and go into a very interesting session. The session we're going to go into is the Green Finance Part 2. We have amazing persons who are going to take us through. So we would pause for now. And when we come back from the break, we'll have that session. Thank you very much.